The panel has now concluded its work. The report is out. Let's speak to the MEC, Kwazi Mshengu, who joins us live now. MEC, thank you so much for your time. Going through some of the findings, it's just shocking. I mean, normalized racism, pupils and support staff who feel dehumanized. This is worrying.
It is worrying indeed. And what the report presents is really a very bad state of affairs in the school, whereby it confirms with authority the allegations as raised by learners in particular, but has actually delved deeper and found more instances of institutionalized as well as systematic racism. Actually, the report says white authority in the school prevails and dominates all facets in the school. And at the center of that problem of racism is the principal as well as the deputy principal, who on daily basis perpetuate racism, be it in relation to learners of African origin, as well as staff members, including the educators themselves. So we are quite confident that the report has actually given us the correct state of affairs, which compels all of us, particularly we who are in government, to act now with determination and speed to eradicate racism in our schools.
And MEC, I'm not sure if load shedding has just hit you there, but one of the things that, this report talks about, as you've just mentioned now, is the issue of systemic and structural racism. When you read it, it talks about, even for example, a principal who constantly reminds black pupils that Grosvenor Girls High is not a township school and they must go back to these township schools. This is one of those that really goes deep because it could be bigger than the principal. So how are you going to make sure that the other rotten apples within the school who have also probably, carry such ideologies or thinking are also being either rehabilitated or this receives the necessary attention?
The report actually does indicate that the problem may go beyond the principal, the deputy principal, as well as those that were hired by the principal and deputy principal, who are related, by the way, to the deputy principal, irregularly so, but without qualification. So the report does indicate that the department will have to look into how does it help to foster cohesion among the staff members, amongst the learners themselves, who have fallen victims of being racially divided by the principal as well as the deputy principal in the main. So beyond acting against the two who are specifically mentioned in the report, we will have to put in some mechanism in that particular school to ensure that we restore cohesion amongst the staff members, the learners, as well as the general community, including the parents themselves. And that will obviously take some time because, when you deal with the problems of attitude, it's not something that you can deal with it today and say tomorrow we are done with it. So we will be putting in place some of the programs to eradicate this institutionalized and systematic racism, which has been entrenched by the principal. I mean, there are quite a number of shocking revelations from that report. And it actually says the principal does not hide the prejudice that she has against the African people in the main. She will tell the learners of colored community that your accent is actually of a drunken person. She will tell the African learners to go to the township schools because that's where they belong. She will encourage educators to recruit more white learners because in her mind, that school actually belongs to the white people. So it's quite a number of things that the report says we must attend to, and we are determined to attend to those things.
How then are you also going to ensure on the other side that these pupils who have had these things said to them also receive continuous, help? Because these are young people who will hear these words, they will break them, and they certainly need to be able to gain some kind of confidence post this particular incident.
The reason why the panel could not finish its work within the 21 days which we announced when we appointed this panel is precisely because it had to undertake certain counseling sessions with the learners who have been affected as well as the employees in that particular school, which took some days. So the process of counseling has been ongoing, but we need to fight when schools open. Now that we know that we are faced with such a problem of this magnitude, we need to act with the culprit. Against the culprits, and remove all those who have been perpetuating this kind of racism. We even have decided to lay a complaint with the Human Rights Commission against the principal and deputy principal, because in our view, this is a heavy issue which must be attended in a very vicious way, so that all the racists are removed within the premises of our schools. And we're not going to go back in dealing head-on with the instances of racism.
What happens then also, post the Human Rights Commission, or even parallel to that when it comes to other sanctions? Because there is, of course, other, parts of the report that talk about the, people who are being appointed without even meeting the basic criteria, and they're being put in positions. And now the report is calling for a review of all of this, and potentially even in some instances, a recovery of the monies. Are we going to see criminal proceedings as well?
Definitely, the legal services is looking into that. Since we have accepted the report as well as its recommendations, I have referred it to the HOD for full implementation. I will not be able to pronounce on the possible sanctions now because we'll have to respect due processes. But I can assure the public that there will be no one who will escape the consequences. Whoever is found to have been on the wrong side of the law and the good ethos of our country will have to face the consequences. We'll have to recover the money paid to those people who were employed irregularly, as well as who charged the department beyond even the working hours. We will terminate with immediate effect all those who are related to the deputy principal who were employed without due process and without qualifications, and indeed will be pursuing them to recover the money which the department had paid to them.
MEC, before I let you go, just if you can indulge us very briefly, give us an update. Of course, your province, when it comes to schools, was ravaged by the floods. You were even visiting some of the schools yourself, and we saw the devastation on television. How are you doing on that front?
Well, so far, all our schools are operating, including those that were affected by floods. You will recall that we had categorized the damage into three. Category one was that that could actually be attended by schools themselves. That was lesser damaged, medium, as well as the one that could only be attended by the head office, because it required. The damage was quite huge in those areas. So the work continues. We have reduced the number from 630 to about 400, if my memory still serves me well. But we are raising a problem with the slow pace of provincial treasurer in doing what it calls a real-time audit, because there have been strong measures put in place to avoid instances of corruption in the process. So before any transaction is approved and made, treasurer has to approve and say everything was above board and was according to the timelines. So the pace of the provincial treasurer is also hampering our pace insofar as repairing these schools. But obviously, the other challenge is the fact that there has not been a cent which has been given to the Department of Education to repair these schools. So whatever work that we're undertaking, we are reprioritizing from the baseline, meaning that we are stopping certain projects which were announced in public, but rechanneling the funds to attend to this emergency. So the work continues.
All right, MEC, thank you so much for your time. Let's see then what unfolds when it comes to this report in the coming days. I do appreciate you coming on the show. That was KwaZulu-Natal Education MEC Kwazi Mshengu.